Hi guys, it's just me being aware of the fact that I'm not going to be with you for the last half hour of our class that's coming Wednesday the 17th. I have to leave at 11:30 for another commitment. But I will have done everything that I need to do in those first 3 hours with you. What I'm doing here is to leave you and the leadership group kind of a ready reckoner, a checklist, so that you can identify where you are and where you're heading. So just to try and explain it as I have it here, what I would like to do is to take you through it. With any luck, since last week, you will have done 20 success case studies or close to that number. I'm not going to kill you if you've done a little bit less or a little bit more. It doesn't really matter. But 10 was a bit maigre, as you would say, to represent all eventualities and all scales and different types of businesses, etc. 20 failure case studies. I gather that the failure group had some difficulty finding small companies and failures. That's hardly a surprise because it tends to be larger companies that have exploited the domestic marketplace that internationalize. So it's not too much of a surprise, but I do remember sending you email details to the leadership group and to the failures group of reports by the EU and the OECD that were covering the reasons why small businesses find it exceptionally difficult. So even if you don't find particular case studies, you know that those are two very reliable sources. I think one was 2019, the other 2020-21. So they are up to date, they're reliable, and they have done research on the small businesses that perhaps we couldn't find. So fair enough, take what you can from them. Hopefully, you will have a sense of the different scales of enterprises that are involved in this, because we can't just go with gigantic corporations, etc., because we do have some medium-sized enterprises who are looking to do this as well. Remember, medium-sized is still quite large. SME goes up to what? 50 million turnover and 250 employees. So that is significant enough. I hope also that you have some sense of the different international context. In other words, both ends of the direction. So you've got people who are maybe French wanting to export to Australia. There are Australians that want to export to America, etc. That you've got a whole range of different types of things. It doesn't have to be exclusively French. Now, obviously, it will become French if the only sources you ever look at, the only searches you ever do are in fact French. So please make sure that you are looking at other sources as well. We have in the group, obviously, people who are native Russian speakers, German speakers, French speakers, English speakers, Spanish speakers. So it shouldn't be too difficult for you to do that. But please make sure at least you try. Now, the next issue is fine. As an individual, you have gone and looked for 2 case studies. That's terrific. Well done. And you have hopefully done an analysis. You've not just copied and pasted it and dumped it on your drive. You've actually tried to look at the reasons for failure. They may be in the article, or you may have to define from the article where you think the reasons for failure are. You may also need to go further than that and to analyze, in fact, when these failures come. Do they come at a very, very early stage? Is the die cast already right at an early stage, and it almost doesn't matter what the organization does after that, it's going to mess up. It's not going to suddenly come right if the original thinking at the base of it may be, we're going to internationalize, without asking the question, well, actually, should we internationalize? Perhaps there are things that are signs of failure or success that come in very, very early. Maybe it's something to do with the people that are involved, the experience that they have, their ability to want to do decent research and not rush ahead blindly. So what I'm looking for is the sense of this sharing of your information about your case study with your colleagues within your respective successes and failures groups, and also for you then to try and categorize the reasons that you've identified and where they come in terms of phasing. Same goes for the successes group. Maybe you can identify that the success, just like perhaps failure, tends to happen early on. We'll see. It's up to you and how you read it. But I don't just want you to say, I've put my stuff on the drive and switch off. You need to look at what other people have been doing. And when we come to class on the 24th, I need to be able to say to each of the teams, okay, then failures group, talk to me about the phases that you see where things can go right or wrong, and for you they went wrong. What are we going to call those phases? And what actually happened in them? Can you talk to me about some of your case studies that show why this phase is so important to get it right and so disastrous if you get it wrong? So at some point you need to have done that research yourself, shared that with everybody else, read everybody else's material, and be able to pull together some phases and principles. We're back to P's, aren't we? Phases and principles, which we can then use and transform into ultimately a set of action points, which we can recommend strongly to our client, the Chamber of Commerce and its members. So somehow we've got to get that going before the next meeting that we have after the 17th, which is clearly going to be on the 24th. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting looking at each other and reading each other's case study analyses. We should be able to save that time if you've looked at everybody else's work and you've really, really thought about it. If you come just with your own thing, here's what I did, and you haven't got a sense of what everybody else is doing, and the conclusions they've been drawing, well, we have a bit of a problem about that. We're going to waste a good hour or two in class just sharing information. That is a big waste of time when we already have a lot to do. As you can see on the bottom of this slide here, can the successes and failures team identify where things went right or wrong and how they went wrong or right, and just how badly they went wrong or how spectacularly it went right. So we're looking to find that out. Why did they go wrong? Where did they go wrong? Who got it wrong? How did it all go so wrong? Why wasn't it stopped? What would it have taken for it to have gone right? I mean, I've already given you some absolutely ridiculous examples of where things went embarrassingly wrong. I talked about Marks and Spencer's. We talked about locum consultancy. We talked about Vauxhall Opel and the Nova car. There was Rolls-Royce even. You perhaps haven't heard this. They produced something and tried to sell it in Germany, and it was called the Silver Mist. And mist means dung or S-H-I-T. So, you know, it's easy for big companies to get it wrong too. So we're looking to be able to draw together this kind of set of principles to get things to go right and to make sure that they don't go wrong. We need to give whoever's running this package of action points that we're coming up with a sense of how to look at it and see the warning signs and have the power, the place in the organization, the position to be able to do something about it, to avoid it, to do something extra to make sure that we're going to get it right, or to shut things down and actually stop it for now. So there we go. So what really needs to be done when we're looking forward to the 24th? Well, we should have the principles, as you can see there, and the phases in place. So we should, during the 17th, be able to nail what these phases are, what they're called, and a sense of how critical they are. We also should have an idea of what to do in each of those phases to get it right and how to stop it going wrong. Those will be in a set of action points, and I've specified what I want those to be. We have to say the what. What exactly do you want the company to do? Why exactly do you want them to do it? And obviously the answer to that is, if you don't, it's going to go wrong. Just look at a case study A and case study Z, whatever it happens to be. So you need the what, You need who's going to lead this action point? When is it crucial to actually start it and finish it? How is it going to be done? Who's going to actually lead it and who's going to support it? Whose responsibility is it? How will we know whether it's been successful, whether we can get to a go, no-go situation, a green light or a red light? How will we know it's a green light? How will we know it's a red light? So we need certainly to be breaking things down so that there is a team looking at, let's say, phase one. Perhaps it's 5 people. Maybe there are 5 action points that you want to happen in phase one. 5 people, 5 action points. Each person starts off on a separate action point and then gives it to the other 4 members of the group to refine and improve. That's a very efficient way of dealing with something. I'm not saying you have to have a team of 5. It depends how many action points and how big the phase is, obviously. Do remember that up to now it's been relatively easy. You've just had to go away, look for case studies and try and work out what the case study is saying to you. So you've had your head in a little box, but now you've got to get your head out of that and realize that in 2 weeks' time, you're going to be in a situation where you're presenting this to the client and you're presenting it via a presentation and a written report. Now that means there's an awful lot of types of things to do. But before that, remember, there was an extra thing that I talked about, and it was this issue of the job description and person specification for a post in the company that's expanding and moving internationally and interculturally, a post of someone who can lead this. If the company knew how to do it and had the experts to do it, they would not be coming to our consultancy and to the International Chambers of Commerce. So clearly they don't have someone to drive this forward, to manage it, to guide it, to make sure it's going to work. Well, they need to. But what would that person look like? Remember, you're in a privileged position. You know something about it. You're doing MICAI. You're actually fast becoming experts on this to a greater degree than people my age. When I went through university, it was basically business management or business studies or economics. You didn't have things like intercultural marketing or MICAI. So most of the people of my age who might be PDG of a company, they haven't got a clue. They've never actually much encountered this. So a lot of the job description, the details of the post, and the person specification, the identification of the type of person we want, much of that actually hasn't been very well written. So you can find these things and draw them down, but engage brain. You're studying this in detail with a critical mind, with a background in this subject area. You may find that there are some good things out there, but they are way short of being perfect. So we need a team to do that. So yes, we need the phase teams to produce the action points in each phase, but we also need a team to actually develop this idea of the person that will manage all of this for the company. So the next point is, remember, as I said, that you are in fact about to go towards a presentation and a written report, which will be handed in with that presentation. I've said it several times, not dumped. You don't just say, oh, it's the end of, oh, I forgot to give you the presentation, the report during the presentation. Here it is, dump on the desk. No, you need to think about how you introduce this presentation, the report, how you introduce it to me, whether you want to use it during the presentation to show me, to orient me in the report, where we are, what we're doing. Here's the case study detail in Appendix 3. There's all that to do. But reports, of course, if you're looking down here, you can't all write in a totally different typeface. It's going to look stupid. You're going to have to agree what size headings, main headings, what size subheadings. Are we doing ABCs? Are we doing 1, 2, 3s? What are we doing? Someone's going to have to be in charge of that and making sure they all use the same standard. Otherwise, it's going to look stupid. You're going to have things like numbering. As I said, numbering of sections and subsections. Someone needs to do a front cover with some artwork and maybe get the thing bound. We need a consultancy name, logo. We need index pages, glossary of terms, an executive summary. Why? Because that will be read by the head of the Chambers of Commerce locally, my contact at my level, and he won't want to read the entire damn report. That will be down to his generals in his COCI army. But he will want to know a summary, the general results of what we've come up with in the light of the commission that he gave us. So someone needs, or a small team needs to write an executive summary. That's what we set out to do, the brief, how we did it, what we came up with. Then you need obviously an introduction to the report itself. Someone's going to have to write that. Perhaps not one person, which restates the brief in detail, gives a methodology of how you've done the work, etc., explains the structure and the framework of the report, and says that, of course, you will be only too pleased to answer any further questions that the client might have. So somebody's got to do that. The main body, of course, is going to be the phases with the action points in the phases, plus the details of the intercultural management, intercultural international marketing post that you are creating. So what's the details of that? And then clearly afterwards, you're going to have things like bibliography, references, appendices, etc. I listed all of this, not so much here, I just bang that together, but in the instructions for the assignment itself. So please have a look at that. You also need to think about, presentation-wise, there's some of you evidently who are going to be better presenting than others. So we can't have 27 people jack in the box like this, you know, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, minute and a half. It's just nonsensical. So I would suggest that some of you ought to be heading towards maintaining the presentation, because those are your key skills, play to your strengths. And some of you ought to be looking at the report construction, proofreading, and all the rest of it. Okay, but now, even at this relatively early stage, you've got to have an idea. Now you've done the successes and failures research. Where is this all going? Where is it leading? I haven't finished my responsibility for that, you say. I need to volunteer for other things that has to be done by the group. Now, I don't mind who does what. I need to know who does what, so that I can assess it. That said, if some of you are stronger on presentation, then fine, you do the presentation. Some of you are stronger on report, then fine, you prepare the report. If some people want to be involved in both, well, that's also fine. So that's up to you. But what I do want you to do is to take equal responsibility, to share an equal load of the job. It's not just up to the chairing team, your leadership team, suddenly to become the presenters. They may want to, because they will have a good overall view of the entire exercise. But trust me, when it comes to the presentation and questions from the client, I'm going to be looking at everybody in the room. I'm going to be saying, thank you, presenters, that's been absolutely great, thank you very much. But now I need to speak to the case study specialist. Who's got the case study that relates to phase 1 that was about Marks and Spencer's? Can you talk me through that, please? And I'm expecting somebody who perhaps has written the report, not done the presentation, to jump up and say, hi there, that was me. Okay, and give me the response that I need. Okay, so you need to get a sense of, you're doing this at the moment, but once you've got these phases and you've got a sense of the action program, the action points, you're turning around towards the end point, which is going to be the presentation of your action program, your phases and your action points, and of the job description and person specification. Okay, so there we go. I hope that helps you prepare a little bit for the 24th of the 11th. That will be the last time that I actually get to well, 24th will be the presentation week, obviously, but you still have the 1st of December, so you don't have to leapfrog straight to that. You've got the 1st of December coming up after these details of the 24th, where you can then think about, right, next week we're actually delivering this. What needs doing now? Exactly what haven't we done? What needs to be done in what order? The presenters, for example, are going to have a devil of a job thinking about what to present if they don't have a draft of the vast majority of the report itself. So you're going to have to do your famous retro planning to be able to use your time on the 1st of the 12th to be able to get ready for the presentation on the 8th. Okay, there we go. I hope that helps. I said I'm sorry that I'm leaving you slightly early on the 17th. I'll explain why in class. I'll be there between 8 and 11 at least. Okay, so thank you very much. Good luck with it. And to the leadership team, if you have any problems that come up in that last half hour or an hour when I'm not there, you have my email address, and I will give you my phone number as well if you want to WhatsApp regarding any problems and issues that you need sorting out before we meet again. All right. Okay, so I will be seeing you on the 17th of November. Look forward to that very much, because I was quite impressed, to be honest, by the work that you've done so far. Other groups hadn't got off the mark quite so quickly, but what you've done in the past is no guarantee it's something that you do in the future. So I hope it will be every bit as good when we meet up this week. Okay, thank you very much, guys, and see you in a couple of days. Bye-bye.